This is a continuation of us solving equations mathematically. Now we have some more problems that are going to be involve multiplication and some division. Okay, so this is sort of part 2, chapter 7.4, however you want to look at it. The ideas really stay the same, and what we want to do here is we want to again translate what this is saying. Okay, so what I have here is I have 5 times x is equal to 40. Okay, so I have 5 times x. Now let's think about what actually multiplication means, right? First of all, 40 is our product, okay? And it's a product. Product means the answer to a multiplication problem, right? So I'm multiplying two different things, 5 and some number, and it ends up getting us 40. So I already know my answer is 40, okay? Now, if we think about what multiplication means, multiplication describes the number of groups we have and the amount of them in there, and then we multiply them together. Okay, so this is sort of saying if I have 5 groups of something, that's going to give me a total of 40, right? So the product is kind of like another way of saying total, except I'm just adding, this means I'm adding the same amount over and over again. Okay, so what we're going to do is, okay, if I know that this is the total amount, right, and one of these is the number of groups, and one of these is this how many are in each group, then in order to sort of reverse this, okay, so if I have 5x, oops, sorry, the color probably doesn't work very well. If I have 5 times x is equal to 40, all right, what I'm saying is I have maybe 5 groups, okay, and in each side of each group I have some unknown number. I don't know how many are in there yet. But when I total them all together, I'm going to have 40. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying. So I'm going to say, okay, if I have 5 groups of something, then, and it gives me 40, then if I take my 40 and divide it into 5 groups, that should tell me how many are in each group. All right. Now, if you're confused by this, please make a note right now. I'll be happy to show you kind of a visual way, sort of what this looks like. In class, be happy to do that. Just let me know if that needs to happen. All right. So if I take 40 and I divide it into groups of 5, then what that's going to tell me is I have 8 in each side of each group. Okay. And so that's my answer. And what we'll do is let's plug that back in. So if I do 5 times 8 is equal to 40. If I have 5 groups of 8, will that give me 40 and all? And yes, it will. 40 is equal to 40. Okay, they say the same thing, and that's what you're looking for in these equations. And what I'm saying is this side and this side are saying the same thing, and I want to know what number makes it true. Okay. Now another way you could do this is you could think of this as money. If you have $40, okay, and there were 5 people that were sharing it, how much did each person get? Okay, or I have 5 people with the same amount of money for, or let's say you have 5 tickets. The 5 tickets all cost $40. So you divide it by the number of tickets. Each ticket was $8. Okay. There's another way of doing it. All right, so let's look at this again. All right, here's another one. I have negative 3y is equal to 24. So again, what I'm saying is I have negative 3 times some number is equal to 24. All right, so now what I'm doing here is, again, I'm multiplying. My total is 24, and I'm going to say, okay, how many groups do I have? Well, I have negative 3 groups, and how many are in each group? I have some number. And this one is a little bit funky, okay, because I have a positive 24 here and a negative number. So let's be smart about this, and let's think. If we have negative 3 and we're going to multiply it times some number, how am I going to end up with a positive number? All right, if I have negative 3, a negative times some number, how am I going to end up with a positive solution? So I'm hoping what you see is you're actually going to end up, y is going to have to be a negative amount, right? Because the only way I can end up with a positive number here is by multiplying by a negative number. So let's do this. So I have negative 3 times y. So let me do this. Let's take 24 and divide it by negative 3. All right, and I'm going to divide it by negative 3 because in this case we can say, well, this is how many are in each group. Again, it's kind of a funky problem, but we'll go with it. Let's take a look. 24 divided by 3. We know that's going to be 8. And then again, we already realized that in only way for this to work, our answer has to be a negative. Okay, so we're going to say that y is equal to negative 8. And let's go ahead and let's plug our answer in to make sure that this answer actually does work. And maybe I'll use parentheses to separate these, maybe you see a little bit easier. Okay, and I'm going to say this left side, I need to make it to match that side. So if I do a negative times a negative, I'm going to end up with positive, and then 3 times 8 is 24, so I get positive 24. Okay, and both of those are the same. My solution works. It's good. Okay, now let's try another one. Let's do solving equations with the first one here. I've got negative 7x is equal to negative 56. Okay, so I have, let's say, whenever there's a negative in here, I like to think that that's what's in the group. I have a hard time imagining a negative amount of groups. So let's rewrite this. Negative 7 times x is equal to negative 56. Okay, so negative 56 is the answer. This is sort of the total, right? I've maybe lost $56, and I did that. I lost $7 some amount of times, and that's going to give me at this negative 56. Okay, so negative 7 some amount of times gives me a negative 56. Now, I'm hoping that you automatically see what number it is going to be for x, because if you know your multiplication tables, these problems get to be a lot easier because you can just sort of see what value might work here. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse, right? Since I'm multiplying by negative 7 to get there, I'm going to divide by negative 7. So I do negative 56 divided by negative 7. And then what I'm going to do is, okay, if I have negative 56 divided by a negative 7, that's going to give me a positive. And 56 divided by 7 is positive 8. Okay, so my answer here is going to be positive 8. So let's try it. If I have negative $7 and I have that 8 times, okay? So you kind of say like I borrow $7 8 times. Is that the same as owing $56? And a negative times a positive here is going to give me a negative, and 7 times 8 is negative 56 here. And does that equal? Yes, it does. The two work out. All right. Okay, and then let's do one last thing. We have a number, and we're going to divide it by 3, and we're going to end up in 9. So division again is I have some number, and I'm going to make groups, and then that's going to tell me how much are in each group. So I have m divided by 3 is equal to 9. So I have some number, and I'm going to divide it into 3 groups, and then inside of each group is 9. Or another way you could say it is I have m, I'm going to divide it into groups with 3 in each group. If I end up with 9 groups, how much should I start with? Okay, so again, m is the thing. M here is kind of like the product. Okay, this up here actually is going to be the product, and we're dividing it into groups, and this is going to tell us how many are in each group. Okay, so if I have the product here, okay, I know that this, if I break it down into 3 groups, and I end up with 9 in each group, then I'm going to need to do the opposite. In order to find this number, this total, I need to get 9 3 times, right? Because this, again, this is the number of groups here. This is how many are in each group. So I need to multiply them to see how many I started with. And in this case, 9 times 3 is 27. So you could say I have some number of, let's say, balloons. I divide them into groups of 3. I'm able to make 9 groups of 3 from that. So I want to know how many balloons that I have to begin with. Well, if I have 9 groups of 3, that means I had to have 27 balloons to start with. And let's just go ahead and we can plug it into our original equation, right? I'm going to take it and put it in here. So I'm going to say 27 divided by 3, does that equal to 9? All right, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay, they're both positive, they both work. So the left side, right, when I simplify it down, is equal to the right side. They say the same thing. My solution works. Okay, again, please, any questions you have, any confusion you have, please try to bring specific questions to class, and I will do everything in my power to help you. We can draw pictures, we can describe more stories, make stories up. Any of these things are all possible. Just need you to bring in some of these specific questions. Okay, good luck.